Okay, hello and welcome everybody to one of these another fantastic live stream events. Today, we're going to be spending time talking about creating an AI strategy for your company. This is probably one of the most requested webinars I've probably had, especially over the last 2 to 3 months, about people really interested about, first of all, understanding how to use AI to improve the way their business operates, functions, gain efficiencies, optimizations, but also develop new products that can help them grow their businesses in ways that they hadn't anticipated. For anyone who doesn't know me, my name's Barry O'Reilly. I'm a business advisor, entrepreneur, and author of 2 best-selling books, Lean Enterprise, How High-Performance Organizations Innovate at Scale, and Unlearn, Let Go of Past Success to Achieve Extraordinary Results. And I've been working with numerous companies over the last number of years about applying these technologies in their business. I'm also the co-founder and chief innovation officer of Nobody Studios, a high-velocity venture studio that's focused on early-stage company creation. We're building 100 companies over the next 5 years, and a lot of the tools and lessons that I've learned have really been from helping those companies succeed as they start to tackle some of these really bold initiatives that they're trying to create businesses to be successful at scale. So probably some of the things that are going to shock most people is the speed really that this innovation is starting to happen. The majority of executives, 75%, already believe that AI is going to fundamentally change their business. Yet probably the most scariest stat is only 90% of people have any sort of clear AI strategy in place. This is really about great collaborations between business and technology within your company. And yet more companies than ever are struggling to actually leverage that technology for benefit. And we've seen that companies that use these tools can grow anywhere between 4 to 10 times faster. This is certainly true in our venture studio. We use these tools to optimize everything from sales outreach to fundraising processes, which I'll show later in this presentation. But we're really able to scale massively without reducing our headcount, which is a really fascinating way that you can grow your business at scale. And probably the other thing of these stats I think is most important to understand is that in less than 5 years, we expect to see $4 trillion annually invested in AI-driven automation. And just to give that figure some context, today, $4 trillion a year is being spent on digital transformation initiatives. So it gives you a scale that in the very near term, most people are going to be betting on leveraging this technology to grow their business. So the best thing you can start to do, especially as a leader in the company, is not only start thinking individually how you can start using these tools, but also at departmental levels, how could you start to use these tools in your department? And then really the final step is both building new products and optimizing existing services to allow you to sort of scale at the speed and efficiency that you want. Now, for most people on the internet, they're probably seeing a lot of these types of diagrams at the moment that are really about startups that are scaling massively and not using headcount to do that. It's all really about impact. And there are companies out there from Lovable to Midjourney where you have very small teams creating millions of dollars in annual recurring revenue because they're using these tools to scale their efficiency and be successful. And while this is sort of designed, if you will, in many ways to shock people, it's also a few little misconceptions that are important to understand. Now, most people are starting to think that venture capital is now dead because these businesses can launch and be profitable instantly and don't really need any capital to get started. That's not totally true. They still need seed capital. But the point is, if they're profitable, they can choose a lot more of the destiny that they want and delay when they might need to start taking external capital in. This idea that people are just scaling to like 10 million AAR in weeks is true for a segment of their business. So Lovable has actually been around for a number of years, and they're just hitting, if you will, the beginning of a J curve and sort of going exponential because their product is so fantastic. But this idea that small teams are the new norm. I think it is true that we've always believed in small teams, 2 pizza teams. But the thing what I tend to talk about now is that you can have a few slice pizza teams. You don't need these huge big groups. And we're certainly seeing it in the startup space, where a small team of maybe 3 people can have huge effect if you've got a domain expert, if you will, a technology engineering expert, and someone on sales and marketing. You can really have a big impact in terms of the tools and the products and the niches that you can go after. So it's a super exciting time. I think these are interesting stats that are happening, but they share just a little bit of the reality of the picture. Okay, so what I wanted to do today is show you a couple of these tools that I've definitely used with teams, whether inside our venture studio or more broadly in the sort of e-commerce or enterprise space, where they're looking at these ideas about how they can apply a technology strategy specifically around artificial intelligence in their business. So I'll share a few tips, and then I'll actually show you a workbook or a sheet that I create, which we find massively valuable for people to use when they're trying to at least start to create this path. And then I'll show a case study of how we've been doing this specifically within Nobody Studios around fundraising. So one of the most important things always with this is when you actually start a strategy, the most important thing is to be specific. So many bad strategies we'll just use AI to make things better. And it doesn't really quantify or set constraints, if you will, around what success is going to look like and how you're going to get there. So these are sort of the first defining characteristics I always challenge teams to come up with is just don't say we're going to do AI. Talk about a specific area that you might try to target. Maybe it's customer onboarding, time to activation. It might be marketing outreaches, sales outreaches, lead generation, customer service. These are very specific areas that you're looking for specific efficiencies. And then asking yourself, where is it going to have the most return? If I solve a process that's slow, if I remove a friction in a process that customers struggle with, if I can drive retention, revenue, or margins, these are the most sort of important questions, if you will, to unify where you want to start and the business problem you want to solve. Then it's really all about this idea of leverage points. I think about the process end to end, what's involved in, if you will, a value stream or a customer experience, and thinking about where you can actually leverage AI either to personalize, to remove or automate repetitive tasks. Think about where if they had better information, they could make a better decision, and really thinking about using the tools to prototype and test faster. This is probably one of the most most important part once you understand the problem that you want to focus on. And then the next is really what people struggle with the most is actually setting outcomes, being very specific that if we're going to try and run and solve a problem and use these new tools to solve it, what will be the measures of success to tell us that we've actually achieved it? And again, these are just some simple examples. So you're often trying to reduce something, you're trying to increase something, or you're trying to improve something. And very simple triggers just to remember that you're trying to take costs out of the business, you're maybe trying to increase growth in the business, or just improve some sort of opportunity for customers to get through something or their answers in a more self-sufficient way. Then I think a lot about AI as not just necessarily being a side project, but it really starts to become an operating system. Really thinking about systems that you're building within your business so you can automate those systems and scale without having to scale your headcount. Now, this is really important for a number of levels. If you're in a large business, there's going to be an expectation that you're able to take costs out of the company, that you might be able to work with the existing headcount that you have, that you can get more return for the budget that's being assigned to you in your business. And that's really thinking about how can we create good processes and systems for the team, but how can we automate those? In the startup realm, this is almost an imperative because you only have a small team with limited resources. So you're really looking to systematize everything from customer onboarding, how you can do automatic outreach, retargeting from sales. And again, for the valuation of a startup, people are typically buying the systems that you have. Sure, you've got customers, sure, you've got a great product, but it's the systems that allow those businesses to scale. And that's actually what, when investors are looking at your company or they're thinking about making an acquisition, is that they're buying the systems and the structures that you have in place as well as the customer base. So this is really, really important. And then the last piece is just the notion that you have to move fast. I sort of joke with some of our engineers all the time that everything that we knew on Monday is sort of defunct the following Monday at the moment. There's a huge innovation happening with these tools that are coming out. So many people having the opportunity to try one tool for a week, and then next week another tool sort of usurps it or gazumps it. It's almost at a point where you have to sort of focus yourself almost for a week and say, no, I'm just going to look at one or two of these tools and see what they offer, rather than sort of trying a new tool every day or every hour, which it feels like at the moment. So these are just some core, if you will, pillars about how I think about setting up an AI strategy, that you should be able to ask yourself these questions. What's the business problem? Where are the leverage points? What are our measures of success? How are we going to go about it? And then really the prototyping and iteration that goes with it. All right, so those are really often the starter questions that I have when I work with management. But again, one of the things that I've probably found most valuable is giving people this worksheet. I think I probably get about 5 emails a day of people asking, how do I use these tools to be efficient in my startup or in my business to leverage the power of these technologies? And what I've found is by giving people this tool, they're able to sort of mentally work through a very specific use case that they're thinking about where they could apply this technology, whether it's a pilot that you're thinking of running inside your existing business, or maybe it's a startup idea that you have that you would love to sort of bring to life. What I found again and again is giving people this worksheet has allowed them to sort of get to answers that maybe weren't as obvious to them in the beginning. And what you'll be able to do if this is their first time seeing this show is to download this and fill in the workbook yourself. You're also welcome, if you want, to email us a copy of your workbook and we'll provide feedback to you on how it goes. So send a message to hello@barryoreilly.com and we'll be able to sort of give you feedback on your worksheet and hopefully help you improve it and continue to iterate and improve it over time. It's literally a series, if you will, of 10 questions. And these are sort of questions that I get teams to think about just to sort of do the mental arithmetic where they work through the problem and come up with sort of key answers to areas that they need to focus on. So think about the 5 strategies at the beginning of the pillars that you need to think about and asking yourself. And then this worksheet sort of really brings everything to life that you can start to use it in a meaningful way and communicate to the rest of your team why they might be interested in doing this. All right, so the example I'm going to share is actually for one of the tools that we have built within Nobody Studios. And inside the studio, we're not only building our own companies, but we're building the studio itself. And part of a key requirement of startup building is fundraising. And one of our goals is really to build this really unique network all around the world where we can connect high quality investors with very personalized, high quality startups that they're interested in, and leveraging our networks to do that, both for people within inside the studio and outside the studio. And what I will do today is sort of show you how we went about doing that for our business in Nobody Studios and how it's actually supporting all the startups that are within our studio. All right, so the sort of first question, again, I always start with, is this idea of the business goal. And this is the key problem that we wanted to solve. So for us, we were thinking about automating investor outreach. This is probably one of the most time-consuming and challenging aspects of fundraising in any business. You're trying to find these customers, potentially, if you will, think of an investor as a customer, who want to invest in these businesses that you're building. You can go on the internet and find millions of lists, or this is the greatest seed investor list out there. You can pay for these things. You can hire businesses to do it for you, or you can pay for lists or just use any lists. But often the quality of the data and the consistency is very poor. And what we believe is that when we have a great network in our studio, which we've over 150 angel investors and Fortune 500 companies and leading startup executives around the globe. We also were the first to do an equity crowdfunding event where we've over 1,000 investors in 55 countries. So you club all those people together, you've got sort of 1,200 people who have individual networks that we could be using to reach out in warm introductions to people in their network rather than just running these sort of cold email campaigns. So that really got us thinking about where did we want to play? And really what we were thinking about was optimizing investor relations, that experience between people in our network who have great networks themselves, and then helping them activate their network, right? Yeah. So often, when you're in one of these types of businesses, I'll often say to my team members, "Oh, could you introduce me to someone who is interested in investing in health and wellness businesses?" Now, if you ask someone that question cold, they'll often struggle. If they can't take someone top of mind, they won't be able to give you an answer. And even asking them to go back to their LinkedIn and throw through thousands of contacts to trying to find the right person is just a sort of thankless task. Right. So we knew we wanted to play in that space. And that was sort of a key aspect for what we wanted to do. And then how would we know we have won? And then this is really, for us, a manual process that can take hours to do. We know we will have won if we have reduced, if you will, the time to task. How long does it take us to identify our investor pools, identify the startups we're building, make really high quality matches and warm introductions for people in our network to reach out to folks in their network to potentially be interested in investing in the startups we have. And we quantified that by, if you will, automating 80% of that sort of investor outreach. So again, being very specific. And then the ultimate sort of success for us was really seeing that we would have a 30% increase in investor response rates and ultimately a reduction in manual workflows and follow-ups. So this is probably one of the toughest part about fundraising is most cold email campaigns, you're generally thinking if you send out 100 emails, you'll be lucky if 2 or 3 reply. But for us, we wanted to do 10x better than that and be thinking about ways that we can help our network help each other, right? People enjoy offering good opportunities to folks in their network. It makes them more valuable. So if we can use technology to help make that visible to both parties, that is going to lead to success for everybody involved, right? And then thinking really about the capabilities or tools that we would need to build. So using a large learning model, for instance, like ChatGPT, to pull the data together, synthesize it from all our lists, aspects of LinkedIn automation where people could connect to their networks, and then essentially creating a CRM or a place where we can capture both the startup side, the investor side, the connection side, and make all those things work and have a little bit of a scoring system so we could start to understand how happy people were, if you will, with the interactions. So then we start to think about data readiness. This is probably one of the most important parts of any leveraging of AI, which is really ultimately machine learning and data that you're sort of leveraging, if you will. So the quality of what you have is the quality often of the responses you get. And us being able to create high quality data sources, both within our network and the startups that we're building and the investors, what they're looking for was key to us. Then we just started to think about the first experiment. What's our plan then to start to execute this and bring it together? And again, it was a very simple pilot where we could pick 10 startups in our portfolio that are focused in different categories or health or wellness information systems, and then take a cohort, if you will, of people inside the studio, a few contacts from their networks, and then start to be able to do and run a matching process and seeing, first of all, the quality of the match, the quality of the introduction, what made people respond, what made people not respond. And this allowed us to sort of learn very, very quickly. And really, it's this idea of automate versus augment. And this is a hugely important idea. You're not going to take humans out of the loop. The most powerful technologies are humans plus machine. So really, and especially with something that is a very personal thing where you're asking people to reach out to their network and potentially get involved or make an investment in startups that they're building, that can't be a cold, sort of touched, if you will, process. You want it to be enriched by the human insight, experience, and knowledge as you go. So this was a huge part of us in terms of outreach and follow up, and building that into our system, and then just making sure that we remove any bias. So it's always important with these tools to set boundaries, to understand whether the system is operating sort of within boundaries or if it's outside boundaries that you want. So it's really important just to make sure that you're thinking about that. For us, we wanted to make sure that we had a broad reach of types of investors that we were both using from our crowdfunding and from within the studio, but then also looking at different geographies all over the world to give people an opportunity to do that. And then ultimately, if we're successful, how do we scale it? And this is really thinking about how we ultimately automate our end-to-end fundraising process. And I can, happy to say that this has sort of been an amazing experience. Right, so this sort of gives you, again, a very simple insight into how these sort of 10, if you will, questions in a worksheet that we completed in less than 10 minutes can give you a very robust, very specific focus for your strategy and what you're going to do to try and improve it. We see lots of people using this and being super successful and get very excited about it. So what were the results for us when we ran this for our business and the Funco? Well, pretty amazing, to be honest. We were able to reduce, if you will, the time that once took us. We calculated about 118 days worth of manual labor to synthesize, capture lists, and pull them together from that days to less than 5 minutes. So massive return on time. And it means then that our team can focus on things that are really helping them move the needle in terms of progress in the company and being successful. We saw a sort of 20x open rate relative to what industry standards are around cold email and marketing. But then we were able to start getting smarter, building more intelligent matching systems, our scoring systems, refining, if you will, our results in real time. And for those that are interested, you can go over to the Nobody Studios website and see a blog that we've published around this. But it just starts to give you a real glimpse into the capabilities and what's possible with these tools. For me, again, using these tools has been pretty transformational, both at a personal level in terms of how I work individually, but also at a departmental level, the companies that inside our company, if you will, that are starting to use these tools and then build products that are helping people be more successful, run initiatives that are cheaper, faster, and higher quality, and really helping their customers. The tool that I shared today is just one of a suite of tools that we have and publish quite regularly. Everything from understanding, when you're creating an AI strategy, should you be looking at AI agents, prompts, or tools? Also just these worksheets and a lot of understanding of what the current tools are out there, how you could use them, what is going to make you successful. There's a wealth of content that's available if you go to our website, or you can sign up to get access to all of these documents and tools, or go to our blogs. The worksheet that I've used today, you're welcome to just sort of scan this QR code. You can download it and then start to use and apply it in your organization to see how you could start to create an AI strategy and leverage it for greater success. One of the things we'll promise is if you download your workbook and send it to us, we're very happy to review it and give you feedback on it and how you could improve it. Having done these now for a long time, we've sort of a good insight about what a good strategy looked like, how you can make it better. And of course, if you're interested in learning how we could help you apply this in your company, just go to barryoreilly.com/contact, and we're happy to sort of share ways that we can work together. It's been a pleasure to sort of share a little bit of our insight working with you today in this webinar. It's such an exciting and emergent space. I think your ability, or anyone's ability, to start creating these strategies to create fantastic companies, to optimize the way you work, to be more successful in your business and happier individually about using these tools, I think is going to be a massive return for anybody. We're at a fascinating time where this is really, personally, in my belief, another one of these transformational technology changes, probably akin to the internet. Like I said in the beginning, this will be a $4 trillion industry in the next 5 years. That's equivalent to the total global annual spend on digital transformation at the moment. So we're going to see massive changes. Remember, if you're interested and want to learn more, I highly recommend scan this QR code, download this worksheet, start to apply these tools in your business. And if you would like to learn more, we're delighted to share how we've used these tools to help other companies be successful. And thank you very much for joining us.